Scientists probably regret a lot of their inventions, like the Segway and Smell-o-Vision and the Vibrating Ab Belt. If you look around your home, you'll see a lot of good inventions that have all made our lives easier. However, not all inventions are cool and useful. Some are not fit for purpose, while others are as functional as a woolen submarine. Some are born with good intentions, others are made to fill a niche that doesn't exist in the hope of making a bit of dosh. Here are some of the weirdest and wonderful things scientists created, only to end up regretting. Number 15. The Cloud Buster. In the 1950s, deep within the forests of Maine, Austrian psychoanalyst Wilhelm Reich rolled out a bizarre metallic apparatus. It was the size of a cannon, aimed skyward, and looked like it belonged in a fantasy novel. Reich insisted it could generate or dissolve clouds. He named it the Cloud Buster, and he was serious. The device consisted of long metal tubes, grounded by cables submerged in barrels of water. Reich believed that by pointing them toward the sky, he could manipulate a mysterious energy called orgone, a life force he claimed infused all living matter. By drawing in or dispersing this energy, he claimed it could trigger rainfall or scatter storms, and strangely enough, there are photos, videos, and witness testimonies that claim it worked. Reich said he ended droughts. He ran tests over farms, deserts, and mountains, reportedly causing rain and arid conditions. Once, he was even asked to assist during a drought emergency in the Northeast. Journalists at the time reported rainfall shortly after his mind-blowing demonstration. Number 14. Smart Dust. At first sight, they look like microscopic glitter, smaller than grains of sand, nearly invisible to the naked eye. But each one carries a full sensor system, microprocessors, antennas, power sources, even cameras. These aren't from sci-fi. They're real. They're called smart dust, and many of the engineers behind them already regret making them. Conceived by DARPA and developed at UC Berkeley in the 90s, Smart Dust was designed for real-time surveillance and environmental data gathering. These micro-electromechanical systems, MEMS, could be scattered across cities, war zones, or buildings, silently recording temperature, motion, sound, and more. Early models were bulky, but nanotech shrank them fast. By the 2000s, Smart Dust could self-organize, run on sunlight, and send low-power signals back to base. That's when the alarm bells rang. Imagine dust floating through windows, embedded in paint, or sprayed into crowds. Undetectable, disposable, irretrievable. Governments were thrilled. Corporations too. But scientists started warning we'd accidentally built the most efficient surveillance device ever made. Number 13. Glow-in-the-dark rabbit. In a dimly lit lab in Istanbul, back in 2013, something creepy blinked into existence that genuinely stunned the world. It was a rabbit that radiated a glowing neon green under UV light. Well, no, it wasn't radioactive. It was the result of a real genetic experiment using jellyfish DNA. A team of Turkish scientists at Istanbul University, working with researchers from the University of Hawaii, had inserted the gene for green fluorescent protein GFP originally found in jellyfish into a rabbit embryo. The outcome was a normal-looking, healthy rabbit that, under black light, glowed like a rave toy. And it wasn't alone. Similar experiments later produced glowing mice, pigs, cats, dogs, monkeys, and even tropical fish. The first big headline came back in 2000, when French researchers unveiled luminous rabbits to the public. Since then, glowing animals have spread across the internet in photos and videos. Some look strangely beautiful, others flat-out alien. The purpose was scientific, using fluorescence to track gene activity. It helped with research into diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. But then it got strange, and more stranger. Number 12. The synthetic burger. In 2013, a group of journalists assembled in London around a frying pan and a petri dish. Inside it was something the world had never seen, a hamburger grown entirely in a lab. No cows, no slaughterhouse, just muscle cells cultivated in a bioreactor and shaped into a patty. It cost $330,000 to create. The project was led by Dutch scientist Dr. Mark Post. His team harvested stem cells from cow muscle, nurtured them in nutrient broth, and grew them into thin muscle strands. When bundled together, they formed edible beef. No animal cruelty, no methane, no feedlots. At first, the reaction was wonder, could this be the future of meat? Ethical, scalable, clean. But behind the applause, concerns started forming. The process required meticulous care. Scaling it for global use seemed impossible. Who would own the tech? What would happen to farmers? Then came the aesthetics. Scientists were engineering marbling, synthetic fat, even artificial blood. Photos showed pale, uniform tissues in trays. Others showed muscle cells being electroshocked to strengthen fiber. It was edible biotech. Not everyone was ready. Number 11. The robber rat. Back in 2002, a research team at SUNY Downstate Medical Center unveiled something straight out of a dystopian sci-fi script, a living rat that could be navigated with a joystick. It was remotely directed like a biological RC car. The experiment involved implanting a tiny microelectrode array directly into the rat's brain, targeting two regions, one governing movement perception, the somatosensory cortex, and another responsible for reward processing. By transmitting signals wirelessly to these areas, scientists could trigger the rat to turn left or right and then reinforce that action with a pleasurable stimulus. The result, a living, breathing mammal steered through corridors and terrain using electronics. The purpose was legitimate. Scientists hoped to develop techniques for locating survivors in disaster zones. Imagine rats equipped with tiny cameras navigating collapsed buildings. Their size and agility made them ideal. In theory, it could save lives, but public reaction was intense. Images of rats being piloted like toys caused outrage. This wasn't conditioned behavior. This was neurological override. It was horrific. What do you say? Number 10. Biosphere 2. In the middle of Arizona's desert sits a sealed glass world. Biosphere 2. Built in the late 1980s, the facility spans 3 acres and holds a rainforest, desert, coral reef, swamp, and farmland, all under airtight glass. It wasn't a greenhouse. It was a bold attempt at building a closed, self-sustaining ecosystem, one that could model life on Mars or survive ecological collapse. In 1991, 8 people sealed themselves inside for 2 years. They grew their food, recycled water, and maintained their environment. And for a while it worked, but then the oxygen dropped. Team members became dizzy and foggy. Levels fell to 14%, like living on a 13,000-foot mountain. Emergency oxygen had to be pumped in. Insects died. Cockroaches thrived. Soil bacteria exploded, consuming oxygen. Plants wilted. Carbon dioxide spiked. Team relations broke down. Communication collapsed. What was meant to prove we could control nature revealed how little we actually understood it. The biosphere didn't fail because it wasn't high-tech. It failed because ecosystems are more complex than any machine we've ever built. Number 9. Artificial volcano. It sounded like science fiction. Build a man-made volcano, inject particles into the upper atmosphere, and cool the Earth by dimming sunlight. But it wasn't fiction. It was a real plan. A group of geoengineering scientists had proposed one of the boldest climate solutions yet: solar radiation management. The idea came from nature. In 1991, Mount Pinatubo erupted, releasing 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. Global temperatures dropped by 0.5 degree Celsius. The planet cooled. So what if we did it intentionally? Build a towering chimney to release reflective aerosols into the sky, not to stop climate change, but to delay its worst effects. The models looked promising. Temperatures fell, glaciers slowed, storms weakened. But then came the side effects. Rain patterns shifted. Monsoons collapsed. Crops failed. If the system failed suddenly, warming would snap back all at once. The cooling was artificial and temporary. Scientists began backing away. They hadn't just suggested a solution, they had given the world an idea it might someday use too quickly. So should we play with nature? Number 8. Hyperrealistic human robot. In 2005, Japanese roboticist Hiroshi Ishiguro introduced something that didn't dazzle, it unsettled. Standing beside him was a replica of himself. Same posture, same facial creases, same eerie half-smile. But it wasn't a man. It was an android. He called it Geminoid Hey-1. The realism was disturbing. This marked a turning point in robotics. Machines no longer looked like machines. For decades, robots had been overtly artificial: wires, metal arms, blinking lights. But new breakthroughs in silicone skin, micromotor expressions, and facial scanning enabled engineers to create uncannily lifelike androids. At first, the response was curiosity. These machines could host museum exhibits, appear on television, or greet guests. They maintained eye contact. They mimicked emotion. Their skin remained warm. But as they grew more lifelike, people became uneasy. That discomfort had a name: the uncanny valley. Robots that appeared 95% human caused more anxiety than those that looked 50%. Blinks were off. Smiles lacked sincerity. Expressions didn't sink. The closer they came to looking human, the more disturbing they became. And even the inventors started second-guessing their direction. Number 7. Agent Orange. In the 1940s, long before Vietnam, botanist Arthur Galston was researching how to speed up soybean growth. He developed a synthetic compound derived from phenoxyacetic acid. In small doses, it boosted plant growth. In high doses, it killed them. It seemed like a perfect herbicide: targeted, effective, quick. Galston imagined it would be used to manage crops, eliminate weeds, improve harvests. But his research didn't stay agricultural. The U.S. military saw something else: deforestation. In the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, where cover was everything, they saw an opportunity. Clear the trees, expose enemy positions, destroy crops. His work was weaponized. By the 1960s, Galston's compound had evolved into something else: Agent Orange, a cocktail of herbicides, 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T, sprayed from plains across Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. It stripped forests, ruined farmland, and poisoned water. What started as crop science ended as chemical warfare. Galston later said it was the greatest regret of his life. Number 7. Nano Hummingbird. In 2011, the world saw something it didn't think was possible: a mechanical hummingbird hovering mid-air. It flapped, banked, darted, and perched like a real bird. But it wasn't alive. It was a drone, built for surveillance, built by DARPA and developed by AeroVironment. Called the Nano Hummingbird, it weighed just 19 grams with a wingspan of 6.5 inches and a flight time of 10 minutes. It didn't rely on propellers, only flapping wings. It was the first functional flying robot to mimic hovering via wing motion. The visuals were incredible. In slow motion, it looked indistinguishable from the real thing. Up close, the shape, stillness, and wing rhythm were near perfect. It slipped through doors, circled targets, landed quietly. Scientists were proud. This was decades of bioflight research realized. But reality kicked in. It wasn't for nature documentaries. It was made to spy. It could fly into homes unnoticed. It wasn't just biomimicry, it was camouflage. And some of the engineers who built it started to wonder if they'd made the perfect predator. Number 5. Blue LED light. In 1993, a breakthrough in semiconductor tech changed the world forever. Japanese engineer Shuji Nakamura developed the first efficient blue LED, a light-emitting diode that completed the RGB trio and unlocked full-spectrum white light. It was compact, bright, energy-efficient, and long-lasting. Blue LEDs triggered a revolution: televisions, smartphones, computers, street lamps, car headlights, billboards. The shift was massive. Nakamura received a Nobel Prize. His invention powered a global lighting overhaul. But by the 2010s, studies started surfacing showing that blue light exposure, especially at night, was disrupting sleep cycles. The human circadian rhythm depends on light. Blue wavelengths suppress melatonin, the hormone tied to sleep. Evening exposure through screens and LED lighting delayed sleep, worsened insomnia, and was linked to anxiety, depression, weight gain, and memory loss. Cities once lit in amber tones were now bathed in harsh blue-white glare. Ironically, the efficiency of LEDs made things worse. Cheaper lights meant more of them. Even Nakamura acknowledged the downside. We lit the world with brilliance, but in doing so, we dimmed ourselves. Number 4. The spider goat. In a quiet field in Wyoming in the late 2000s, a group of goats grazed behind fences like any others. They looked normal, acted normal, but inside their DNA was something unnatural. These were spider goats, the result of a radical synthetic biology experiment. Scientists had successfully taken the gene responsible for silk production in orb weaver spiders and inserted it into goat DNA. Their aim? To get the goats to produce spider silk protein in their milk. Spider silk is 5 times stronger than steel by weight, incredibly elastic, compatible with human tissue. Its applications ranged from artificial ligaments to lightweight armor. But spiders are solitary and cannibalistic, impossible to farm. So scientists engineered goats to produce silk through lactation, and it worked. Videos show shimmering synthetic strands pulled from milky solutions. It was the first time animals were turned into cross-species biofactories, but public reaction was harsh. Frankenstein headlines exploded. Animal rights activists were furious, and even scientists inside the project began questioning if they'd crossed a line no one fully understood yet. Number 3. Anti-laser. Lasers are precise, focused beams of energy used to cut, scan, guide, and transmit data. But in 2011, Yale researchers flipped the concept. Instead of creating a beam of light, they built something that could absorb one completely. They called it a coherent, perfect absorber. The media called it the anti-laser. The idea was wild. 2 perfectly synced laser beams sent into a chamber could interfere in a way that canceled each other out, erasing the light entirely. Not reflected, not scattered, just gone. The technology was hailed as a breakthrough in optics. Potential uses: ultra-efficient light switches, advanced medical precision, quantum computing. But the dark side was immediate. An anti-laser could absorb targeting lasers, disrupt surveillance, or cloak objects from detection. It could trap light like a black hole. It didn't just silence beams, it made them vanish. And the question that followed wasn't how it worked, but what people might do with it. When you can erase light, you start rewriting visibility itself. Number 2. The Sky Beam Cannon. In the center of the Las Vegas Strip, where excess is the design language and visibility equals status, sits a black pyramid topped with something unnatural. Most nights, especially when the air is dry and clear, the apex fires a vertical beam so piercing it punches straight into the atmosphere like a signal to something above. That's the Luxor Sky Beam, the strongest man-made light ever aimed at the sky. And it wasn't built to brighten anything. It was built to be seen. You can spot it from 275 miles away. Pilots at cruising altitude report seeing it from neighboring states. Astronauts on the ISS have confirmed its glow. The beam wasn't made for pedestrians. It was made to make the planet notice. Created in 1993 as part of the Luxor Hotel's pyramid design, it was meant to stand apart in a city full of neon. Designers didn't just want Vegas to see it, they wanted Nevada to, so they commissioned an engineering firm to build something no other building on Earth could claim. What do you think about it? Let us know. Number 1. Large Hadron Collider. Buried beneath the border of France and Switzerland, stretching across a 17-mile ring of subterranean tunnels, lies the most elaborate machine humanity has ever constructed, the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC. It was built to probe the grandest questions in particle physics. What imparts mass to matter? Could all forces be unified? What preceded the Big Bang? Yet as the project neared completion in 2008, public concern didn't revolve around discoveries, it centered on a single question. Would it destroy the Earth? The LHC functions by propelling protons close to light speed, then smashing them together at record-shattering energies. It operates inside an ultra-high vacuum, colder than outer space itself. Superconducting magnets curve and direct the beams with extreme precision. When these particles collide, they recreate conditions from trillionths of a second after the Big Bang. The detectors are cathedral-sized, filled with sensors, wires, and light sensors that capture every moment. In 2012, it confirmed the Higgs boson, a monumental discovery. But fears persisted. Could it spawn black holes? Strange matter? Quantum disruptions? The unease never fully disappeared. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.